I realize that this is right before the holiday shopping season and that people are looking for gift ideas and people are sharing gift ideas. In fact, next week I will be sharing my top list of minimalist gift ideas. But this week is my birthday and I'm turning 38. So I want to share some real things with you that have just truly been life-changing for me. The best investments that I've ever made, just looking back over the years. This is something that I saw done recently by Marissa Zen over at Squirrels of a Feather, and I thought that it was just one of the most beautiful YouTube videos I've ever seen because it was so personal and just real and raw. I will leave a link for that down in the description. She and her husband just have an incredible backstory that I highly recommend. Now, I'm keeping my list at 5 things today instead of stretching it out to 10 or 15 or 20 because I really want to focus in on the big life changers and not necessarily the material things. There are many things that you can buy that are beneficial to your life and can improve your life. That's just not what I'm talking about today. Now, there have been many bad decisions that I've made in my life. There have been many things that I've spent money on that I regretted later as well. But these 5 things are by and far things that I would do again in a heartbeat. I would put myself in debt for even in a heartbeat, any of these 5 things. Now, if you're new here, then hello, my name is Danielle. I chat all about holistic and clutter-free spaces. So if that's something you're into, be sure to click subscribe and turn on those notifications because I release new videos every Tuesday. So let's go ahead and dive in. The number 1 thing on my list that I would do time and time again is moving to Portland. I grew up in a small town in Southeast Texas. I was born and raised in the same house on the same street. The house is still there. I like to go visit it when I visit Texas. But I honestly could not wait to leave that small town. In fact, I couldn't wait to leave Texas. I had no idea where I was going to go. I had many different dreams and big, bold ideas. And it wasn't until my daughters were already 2 and 4, I ended up leaving Texas for the first time. And I moved to Arizona. And I bounced around Arizona and California for a while. And honestly, it never felt like I was home. I never felt like things were right. It always felt like something was missing. And I was just never full. I don't know why. I don't know what it is that finally made me feel like I was connected and that I was in exactly the place that I was supposed to be. But that happened for me the moment that I moved to Portland. When I came and visited Portland for the first time in 2014, I knew as soon as I visited it, this was the place that I was going to live. I loaded up my daughters who were 6 and 8 at the time, and I made what was definitely a very risky and not necessarily well thought out decision to move to Portland with no job and no job prospect, no money saved up, just myself and my girls. Now, was it a good life decision? Probably not. I wouldn't necessarily recommend somebody else do that. But it ended up being the best decision for me. And in 2014, which was about 7 years ago, within a month of moving to Portland, I met Matt. We've been together ever since. And my life has taken a totally different trajectory than what I had previously experienced up to that point in my life. All of a sudden, I had direction. All of a sudden, I had clarity. I felt grounded. I felt like I was in the place that I was supposed to be. And none of that would have happened if I hadn't taken that leap of faith in myself and done what I felt drawn to do in that moment. I ended up racking up $21,000 in credit card debt on getting established in an apartment, paying the down payment, paying for months of rent before I had a good income coming in, furnishing the apartment, getting the girls taken care of, and paying for childcare while I got a job all lined up and established. And it took me 3 years to pay off that credit card debt. 7 years later, at this ripe age of 38, I can honestly say that I have never been happier. There is no place that I would rather be. There is no body that I would rather be here with. And I would 100% make that decision, that bad decision, all over again. 2 years ago, on January 15th of 2019, Charlie here was born. We had waited so long to be able to get a pet and bring a puppy into our home. They didn't even allow them at the apartment that we stayed at. So when we bought this condo, the first thing that we thought of was, you know what, we're gonna get a pet. I think that the fact that we had waited so long to be able to get a dog made it so much sweeter. We had gone through so many different cycles and loops of calling people and emailing people and showing up and waiting in line at shelters. And one day when we were at the food carts, myself and Matt and the girls, I got an email saying that their puppies were available and ready to be adopted. They were 8 weeks old at the time, and Charlie was a part of that litter. $650, and I would spend 10 times, 20 times that amount. She has been such an amazing addition to our family. She is the sweetest puppy in the world. She does like a million different tricks. She's so smart. I cannot imagine a better pet. She has spoiled us to any future pets. One of the best investments that I have ever made in my life. If you think that you might be in the right place to bring a pet into your home, they can just bring so much happiness and so much just daily life satisfaction. I can't tell you how happy she makes all four of the people in this family. This is something that you're going to see on a lot of YouTubers' lists, go figure, and that is a really nice camera. In my case, it's a Canon T3i. I bought this camera way before I ever thought or considered doing anything on YouTube. I bought it like almost a decade ago. And because I spent so much money on it at the time, it was well over $1,000 with the extra lens and all of the accessories I got with it. I was doing a lot of traveling and moving around in different areas of the desert that I just thought were really beautiful. And I wanted to get some professional quality shots out of it just for my own personal fulfillment. So I purchased it, and because I purchased it, I wanted to be sure that I knew how to use it. So I took an online program and I learned about aperture and shutter and all of these things that I use regularly right now. Like, who would have known that 10 years ago, just taking pretty pictures of the desert and learning how to use aperture and shutter could lead me to what I do on a daily basis now with YouTube and editing my videos and planning out my content. It's too serendipitous. Now I have a more updated camera, which I'm recording from right now, but for the first year of YouTube, almost, I used this camera. A decision that I made almost 10 years ago with no insights, no business plan or prospects or anything, contributed to where I am today in many ways. Number 4 is online learning. I spent 6 years in college. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I changed my major a lot. And once I settled on something, I would end up going back for something again. And I spent a lot of years and a lot of time in college. And I'm not saying that it was all for nothing. I learned a lot, had a lot of life experiences during that period of my life. But I'm using the information that I've learned in online courses. I learned how to build a business. I learned how to create content. I learned how to create a YouTube channel from scratch that I had no clue what to do with. I learned all of this stuff through online learning. Just the amount of knowledge that I gained in the past 5 years is insane. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in the past 5 years since creating my online business. I would not take back a single dollar. And some of those decisions that I made at the time were really difficult. Some of those $2,000 programs when we were broke was really difficult decision to make. Would not take those back at all. Those online business courses didn't just teach me about marketing and business and copywriting and all of the technical stuff. They taught me to have faith in myself and to create something that I was proud to put out there. I learned how to build a business and to choose how I wanted to spend the days of my life. The mindset changes that came through that entire process and through the lessons themselves were life-changing. I learned how to create a mindset of possibility, and I started really believing in myself in a way that I never had before and never would have had I not gone through this whole entrepreneurial adventure and challenged myself in ways that I never would have thought that I could challenge myself. And even to the point to where over the years, I've learned to stop feeling and internalizing what other people say and think, which is huge. I used to feel so sensitive to those things, and I wanted to be like this strong, sturdy tree that could just stand my ground, not feel what anybody else had to say or think about me. But it took me a long time to be able to work through that, and it's just changed my state of being on such a dramatic, life-changing way. And since then, I've created my own course, Clutter Cure, that I share with people, and I see students of my own now getting amazing results. So I've just seen the power on so many different levels of online learning, and I think that it's just such a cool thing that we can learn literally anything. It's all at our fingertips. So I definitely have invested quite a bit in online learning, and I would not take back a single course that I've invested in. The number 5 thing would definitely have to say real estate and home-related investments have been some of the most life-enhancing and beneficial purchases and investments, really, that I've made in my life to date. The condo that we're living in now, I remember when we got the keys to it, and it was such an exciting adventure for us to buy this condo and have like these 3 levels of living space coming from like a really tiny 900 square foot apartment previously. And finally knowing that not only were we having our own home, but it's also an investment where we're increasing our net worth. Recently, in taking a quick look on Zillow, our home is estimated to be $50,000 more than it was 2 years ago when we bought it. It's definitely been well worth the investment. But not just purchasing, the updates that we've made to it have really enhanced how I experience the space that I'm in. I think that we all are influenced by that, but some of us are impacted a little more strongly than others, and I'm definitely very strongly impacted by my surroundings and my space. And the changes that we've made from the garage to the kitchen have not only increased the value of the home, but they've increased our experience of our home. The first home that I owned, I ended up investing thousands of dollars and flipped it a year later for a profit. The second home that I owned was actually one that I co-designed and built from scratch. We watched them put up the studs. We watched them lay the bricks. This was back when I was still in Texas. We ended up selling for a profit. So I think that the real estate and home-related investments are not only a lot of fun, but also just the updates themselves give that return of investment and help to enhance my life on a daily, minute-by-minute basis, especially given that I spend like 95% of my time here at home inside of this space. And even financially, I can't think of many things that, at least in my life experience, has given back this much return of investment. So those are, to date, on the week of my birthday, the best 5 purchases or investments that I have made in my life that have amazingly, incredibly shaped the life that I'm living right now and how I'm experiencing my world and the people in it. So thanks for showing up here today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this has challenged you or encouraged you to look into your own life and investments that you've made in yourself, or investments that you've made that have really just paid off in general. I would love it if you would share some of those down in the comments. I'm very grateful for all of you. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you next week. Didn't really have